ole, ole, ole. How's it going, everybody? How the hell are ya? Welcome to the Nerdy Jock Talk. I'm the Nerdy Jock, Nick Angle. We're in here for another episode, and while I've got you, go ahead and do me a favor. Hit that like button. Smack that subscribe. It really helps. I swear to God, we're growing this channel, baby. I am pumped for this evening. I just watched the Habs win one. Yes, I did. Made my day feel that much better. I was having a bit of a shitty day, as we all do, especially right now. Mental health is a thing. Make sure you have your mental health in order. Mine always peaks up when the Habs win. So this one is going to be dedicated to those guys. Let's get into it. I want to talk about last episode really quickly. A couple of things that I messed up. One, the F1 did not do their sprint start, the sprint qualifying, this weekend. They're not doing it actually until Silverstone, which is right around my birthday, which is super cool. But they're not doing it till Silverstone in the UK later on this year. Another thing, it's Anthony Rizzo, not Joe. But hey, we all make little mistakes. And also this happened. Yeah, I don't know why. But the picture just, I don't know, it moved on my screen and I didn't catch it in the editing, but that's fine. We're going to talk about that in a second. Right now, though, I want to talk about the Habs-Statician Podcast that was on the other day. I'm going to link that in my description down below. The Habs-Statician and Julian McKenzie were having a conversation, and actually we're talking about two questions that I posed, and I want to just touch on it really quickly because I think I should have expanded on the idea. So here it was. Is it time to trade Carey Price? And is it time to trade Brendan Gallagher? So two things. They were not meant to be that, are you trading them both right now and they're both gone? They were more or less like two different ideas, options. One, trading Carey Price was more of the idea of a salary dump because you know that at some point you're going to have to pay Suzuki, you're going to have to pay Kotkaniemi, and now, I mean, looking at it, you're going to have to pay Caulfield, although that's further down the line. So it was more of a salary dump idea, and if obviously stars align, Carey Price plays really well in the playoffs, maybe it makes it easier. I know Julian was talking about like good luck trying to find a trading partner. Yes, 100%. But I guess the idea was more of trying to make room and moving off that. I understand that it's incredibly difficult to do that. But again, Bergevin, apparently he's the wheeler dealer, right? So maybe. But that was that sort of concept. The other one, trading Brendan Gallagher, I knew you weren't going to get both done, but trading Brendan Gallagher was more of an idea of looking for value within the team right now. So who's the guy that you could move that might give you the best return? Because without getting into the core and ripping that whole thing apart. I understand that he just signed a new contract, but this is not Marc Bergevin's first time trading a guy right after he signed him to a big deal, aka PK Subban. So, you know, he's done it before. So that was that idea there in terms of trying to get value, because there are things that I see in this team, and I've seen it for a while, is that they are a mediocre team. They're okay. They're not blowing anybody's doors off. And when you wallow in mediocrity, I've seen it here in Toronto, you just sit there and eventually you are good enough to maybe make the playoffs or at least be on the bubble, but you're not getting those draft picks that you need. And really, this league has turned into a young man's league. It's turned into, you got to build with those draft picks, you got to have those young guys, and then you use those young guys to then, you know, build your team and make a run at the playoffs. Obviously, you have to be really good at drafting. We're not all the Detroit Red Wings of the early 2000s who were finding guys in like the 7th round and stuff like that, which is really nice to have, but really hard to do. So that was the idea there, was trying to get value, because again, if you're just going to sit there and you're going to be okay with being mediocre and being like, okay, we're a bubble team, that's not going to end well. So those are those two ideas. The other one was having to be down 2-0 in order to give a shit. And that's more the give a shit meter that I was looking at. It's nothing to do with the goaltending and what Jake Allen has given up or hasn't given. Jake Allen has played as well as I've expected him to play, maybe actually a little bit above, in this stretch of games. What I was sort of looking at was in its 2 straight games, it just looked like they were plodding along, and then they're down 2-0, and all of a sudden they go, well, got nothing to lose, and then they start to play loose, and you start to see the creativity, you start to see their actual game be where it should have been. If they had started the game like that, they'd be in a much better spot. Again, you saw it tonight. They actually started the game with some jump. They got a goal scored on them, yes, but they at least had something going, and they felt like they were threatening at least a few times during the game tonight. Obviously, down 2-1, they come back. Cole Caulfield, our new shiny toy, gets the overtime winner. I mean, I was ecstatic watching that game. I will say this, though. When Marner and Matthews get the puck and go down, I buried my head in a pillow, and I was like, well, game's over. When it didn't happen, I was shocked. So awesome that Cole Caulfield got that goal and ended up getting the win. But I wanted to, I guess, expand on it or try and clarify what I was saying, and hopefully that makes some sort of sense. Okay, also this weekend was the Portuguese Grand Prix. What a race at the beginning. It was really exciting, for the first couple laps, and then it just seemed to become the Lewis show, didn't it? Yeah, he just kind of cruised for the rest of that, didn't he? I mean, it was like he just got out in front and did what he does, and man, he's good. It's ridiculous. And I know that I bet against him at the beginning of the year, and that's not a smart thing to do. I do think that Verstappen is getting an idea of what it's going to have to take to beat this guy, which is a perfect drive. You've got to drive perfect from start to finish in order to beat him, and you've got to have a perfect strategy. I don't really think the Red Bulls had the pace. It just seemed like Mercedes, the car was just better on the day. Unfortunately for Bottas, I think, second place was definitely within his reach on that one. Obviously an issue with the car kept him from that, but that car has some serious pace, and we'll see. Going into Monaco, all that stuff that's coming up should be interesting. But yes, Silverstone will be apparently the first sprint qualifying, so we'll see about that. Could be really super interesting. So I'm excited. Okay. All right, the Blue Jays. Holy cow, the Blue Jays. That's right, 14-12. They're currently playing right now. Kind of really want to watch the game, but it's out in Oakland and it's starting to get late, and I have kids, so I have to film at night. So, Blue Jays, 14-12, with all of the issues that they have been going through, the bullpen being overused, the fact that the rotation is just not where they wanted it, the fact that their big free agent signing was hurt for most of that, and they pull out 14-12, second in the division, right behind, a game and a half actually behind the Red Sox. I mean, you gotta give it up for these guys. Again, consistency issues are going to rear their ugly head, but man, you can see these guys, if they get on a bit of a run, if they can become a little bit more consistent, they can get that pitching back. I mean, hey, I think playoffs it's in the window. I mean, you can make an argument for them to be there at the end. And I think they can do it. Again, this is going to be a long haul. Baseball always is. And normally things always revert back to the average. So we'll see. But I will stay positive. I will keep my fingers crossed. I really enjoy this Blue Jays team. That young, youthful energy. The fact that they care about playing baseball and showing up to the ballpark every day and wanting to win. I mean, it's just fun to watch. So... and like I said, I had to just turn it off right now to film this, and they were down 3-0, then bang, they're 3-3 again. So it's been awesome to watch, and I'm really excited for what happens. Could be good. Right. Okay, the NFL draft happened this weekend, and that is the one draft I have a real hard time trying to figure out. Really hard in that you don't really know if anybody's really done anything super great. I mean, obviously the first couple of picks, I do like the fact of what San Francisco did in not going with Mac Jones. I think they've done something pretty smart. But also interesting that Mac Jones is now in New England. So maybe there's something there. Could be really cool. The reuniting in Cincinnati, wide receiver and quarterback, I think that's an interesting, maybe fantasy play. Maybe. I will say this, especially with fantasy, you were so used to getting running backs now, and looking across the league, there are so few, cowbell running backs. Like there's just so few of them, and it's mostly by committee. You really got to hope that you get the right guy on the right day. I think now with fantasy, it might start leaning more towards the wide receivers, and you got to get the right wide receivers now to give yourself a shot. So we'll see how this whole season plays out. Nobody went really squirrely, I don't think anyway, with the draft. Every now and then you always kind of get that one team that goes into left field. I mean, maybe the Raiders did that this year, but I don't think so. It seemed like a really well-organized draft, and nobody made it fun. Okay, so Invincible has finished. That's right, the season finale. It came, it was glorious, and then it just made me want more. I'm so glad that the new seasons have been announced, season 2, season 3. I talked about it last week. I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers away because I know there's some people who watch this that are watching the show. But if you haven't seen this show, just do yourself a favor, watch it. If you like superhero stuff, if you enjoy the take on superheroes, just check it out. Watch it. The story is incredible. Same guys that did Walking Dead did this. It's awesome. And great voice actors, by the way, as well. It's a great lineup. It's a great show. Check it out. So I saw this on my Twitter the other day. IGN released the games for May, the biggest releases for May. The list looks pretty interesting. I mean, Resident Evil Village, the Monster Harvest on Switch could be interesting. Mass Effect, really cool with the Legendary Edition. Obviously, Subnautica, I talked about it last week. Rust, coming to Xbox One and PS4. Really cool game. So I'm interested to actually check that one out. But some really interesting games coming out. Also, too, the MCU, Marvel, did us a awesome service and came out with the new Phase 4 lineup, revamped the schedule, all the different release dates that are coming. Black Widow, obviously, on July 9th. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The Eternals. Spider-Man, No Way Home. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Really quick on Wakanda Forever. They have said that they're not replacing Chadwick Boseman. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that character. Obviously, they've talked about his sister taking over the mantle. There is precedent for that in the comic books. So we'll see. I mean, they really did strike gold with that movie, with that whole setup. It was just so well done. And obviously it was tragic what happened. So I'm really interested to see where they're going to go from here and where they're taking it. All right, guys. Last but certainly not least, it's the game of the week, game of the week. It's the game of the week. That's right. The one that you get on your table. If you don't have it, get it on there. It is Zombicide Black Plague. It has everything that you want in a fantasy dungeon type game with zombies. And it's very, D&D-esque. You got your barbarian, you got your sorcerer, you got your dwarf, all that cool stuff with hordes and hordes of zombies coming at you. Now, this game in itself, it has a couple of expansions. There's a bunch of different zombicides as well, if you don't like, the medieval look to it. But it just a really well done game. And it's got a bunch of minis if you like painting. And I have actually, just broke a bunch of stuff. I have gone ahead and painted a bunch of these guys, and I'll show them to you right now. There we go. There's a couple of minis painted. Yeah, not bad, not bad. I'm no master painter, but it's pretty good. If you are into painting miniatures for your board game and things like that, I mean, I would say if you're not into it, try and do something like this. It's your board game. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what they look like, because when they hit the table and they've got a little bit of color on them, it just makes the game kind of come alive a little bit. And if you're big into theme and theatrics like I am with my board games, it's a really cool way to do it. So for those who are into painting or getting into it, Sorastro is the guy that on YouTube that I have followed. He gives great tips and a lot of cool techniques, how to prime your minis, you know, shading options, and really takes you from step one all the way through to the finished product. Even gives you some ideas on what paints to buy, what paints to use. It just really well done. And I'll link it in the description down below, and you guys can certainly check it out. Okay, well, that is it for me today. May the 4th be with you. Yeah, I know, big nerd, just said it. Thank you very much for Deadpool, for sticking around, coming back this episode. This is the Nerdy Jock Talk. I'm the Nerdy Jock, Nick Angle. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, guys, it's always game time. Let's go, baby!